Greetings. This is Dr. Andrea Hall, your mind body nurse coach. And I want to talk to you today about something that I've been thinking about a lot. Last week, I watched a video on YouTube with Deepak Chopra. It was an interview in which he mentioned the power of non resistance. And what he said was, amongst many other things, was that when we live a life of resistance, we increase stress. And when we learn to live our lives practicing non resistance, it brings about a sense of inner peace and well being. Sounds simple enough, right? But I begin to think about it and wonder how much of my life am I living in resistance? And resistance comes in so many forms. Rather than just saying no, we have quiet, unconscious ways of resisting things that can lead to stress, and we don't even realize it. There might be times when I'm feeling kind of anxious about something, and I'm like, why? Everything's going well. Why would I be feeling anxious? And so I've been paying a lot of attention to it, and usually it's because there's some resistance going on. So I want to talk about 10 ways that we resist, whether consciously or subconsciously. But whether we know we're doing it or not, we still feel the effects in our body that leads to anxiety and stress. So, number one, negative self talk. If you look in the mirror and you say, geez, I look horrible, or I look old, or I look fat in this dress or these jeans, we're resisting the way we are. Non resistance would be to accept the way you are. And it would be okay to say, I think I'll work out more. I think I'll change my eating habits in a way that's positive, but not critical of yourself. So, negative self talk is one of those things. Perceived failure, thinking that we failed in some sort of way. That's stressful. And that's resisting the accomplishments that we made. Avoidance, ignoring your problems, pretending that they don't exist. You know that they do. And so you can be feeling it in your body even when you're not thinking them with active thoughts. So avoiding facing the challenges or changing things that you know you need to change can also lead to stress in the form of resisting the change. Perfectionism. Anybody got that going on? Trying to be perfect, trying to be the best, trying to score the highest. That's stressful, isn't it? I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagrams. They're sort of a personality thing. And I used to test out as a one, which is sort of that type A perfectionist behavior. But someone said something to me once that was like, oh my God, and you're a one, because I brought a bucket of fried chicken to a company dinner that was in a home. And hey, if I had brought it to my family's party, I'd have been, applauded for bringing the Kentucky Fried Chicken. But her response was, ah, and you're a one, because it was still in the red and white bucket. And she wanted it to be on a pretty platter. So I asked her for a platter and put it on there. But then I thought, you know what? If being a one means that I have to be so perfect that I have to put something on a pretty platter instead of putting it in my red and white Kentucky Fried Chicken box, maybe that's asking too much. Maybe I'm not a very good one. And my wing was to the seven, which meant, if you know anything about an Enneagrams, but so you have wings, you have other personality types that you go to. And so a seven is the fun one, a person who just wants to have a good time, not that we avoid our responsibilities, but that we want to have a good time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to lean more into my seven side. I'm going to enjoy this life. And when we had an evaluation again, I tested out as a 7. And I told the evaluator, yeah, I used to be a 1, but that wasn't much fun. So now I'm a 7. And she said, you can't just change. You're an Enneagram type. And I said, yes, I can. I'm not going to just stay in a box because somebody says I tested out in a box. And she said, you know what? You said that just like a 7. That's exactly what a 7 would do. So, hey, I'm a 7 and I'm enjoying my life. So, back to this. That 7's also veer off into other topics instead of adhering to one. But so, anyway, clinging to control. That's another way that we resist things. We resist change. We want to control stuff. And I'm sure you know we can't control all the things going on outside of us, even though we try. I know I used to try to control everybody around me, control my ex husband, control my children, control my team when I was a manager and a supervisor. But you know, you can only control yourself. And it's stressful trying to control everybody else because you can't. So, clinging to control, that's one way that we resist what is, and it leads to stress. Judging others, that's a big one. We tend to judge so much. Oh, look at her. What made her think she should wear that? Oh, look at him. I can't believe he cut his hair like that. You know, so many times we're judging. But you know, this is what a spiritual teacher told me before. When you judge others or imprison others, it has to first come through you so that you're the first one who feels the judgment. Or, like in the case of Nelson Mandela, when they jailed him for 27 years, the jailer had to be in there too to make sure that he stayed in his prison cell. So, when we have those negative opinions and judgments of others, remember it has to come through you before it goes to them. And they don't even have to take it. So, really, it's your stuff. Like a friend told me once, you don't have to catch every ball that's thrown at you. So if somebody throws a ball at you or throws judgment at you, if you don't catch it, if you don't receive it, it's theirs. It's not yours. And if you try to put it onto someone else, it's not theirs. If they don't receive it, it's yours. So judging others leads to stress as well. Fear of change, resistant change, whether it's personal circumstances, career, relationships. If you don't want something to change, but you're really not happy with it, that's going to lead to stress. So resistant change. Change can be good, especially when the situation that you're in isn't good. And if you resist changing it, you're elevating your level of stress. So don't be afraid to change if something isn't working for you. Overthinking. You ever get caught in that, ruminating about something? Something happens, and maybe it happened a day ago, a week ago, years ago. You had a bad relationship 10 years ago, and when that person comes into mind, you still get mad, remembering it all over again, and your body doesn't realize that it happened 10 years ago and it's over. Your body is still feeling the same stress as if it's happening right now. Something else a spiritual teacher taught me once that I thought was pretty cute. She said, you know that you've forgiven the person when they run through your mind or a thought of them runs through your mind and you don't want to shoot them. Then you know that you truly have forgiven them. Holding grudges, same type of thing. Resisting forgiveness. If you don't want to forgive somebody and you hold on to the grudge, you say, nah, I can't forgive them for that. That's not their problem. That's your problem. Because forgiveness is for us. And I don't mean forgiveness in the sense that it's okay that they did what they did. I mean forgiveness in the sense that you don't feel bad when you think about what the person does. Because feeling bad hurts you, not them. So when you forgive, you let go of those negative feelings that happen when you think about what happened. Let go of those negative feelings, let go of the anger, because that forgiveness is for you, not feeling that anger, not holding that grudge. It has nothing to do with the other person, really. It's all about you, taking care of you. So, unforgiveness leads to stress. Forgiveness leads to ease. Rigid thinking. I talk about flexibility often in my YouTube videos. I'm going to do it again because rigid thinking leads to stress. Everything really isn't black or white, this or that, either or. You know, we live in shades of gray. Different people have different opinions. And this was brought to mind recently when I was really feeling some type of way about some people that I was spending time with who were praising Trump. And I actually felt a little angry and I was like, nah, he represents hate. And these were good people. These people are my colleagues. I even consider them friends. And so I knew that they wouldn't embrace hate. So I had to think about why they thought differently from me and accept that they did. Because they think different from me doesn't mean that they're bad people. Snoop Dogg. I, I don't even know Snoop Dogg personally, but I was upset with him when he decided to perform for Trump. I was like, how could you? I took it personally. So I'm not buying your wine anymore. But I'm sure he had reasons. Somebody even said to me, Trump probably pardoned a friend of his. And so he did it in exchange. You pardon my friend, I perform for you. I don't know if that was true or not, but at least the person I was talking to was willing to consider that he had a good reason for choosing to perform for Trump, even though the first time when Trump ran, he talked so badly about anybody who would perform for him, called them jigaboos and all kinds of stuff. And then he turns around and performs for him. And the next time that Trump runs for president and wins. So I don't know why. Oftentimes we don't know why somebody feels differently from us. And people, I got this from Abraham Hicks, people do what makes them feel good. Whether it's right or wrong, people just want to feel good. Even a murderer, he murders, if he's like a serial murder, because he feels better after he does it. I'm not saying it's right. Of course, I'm not. I'm just saying that people have reasons for doing what they do, and we don't always know, and we can't control them. So we'll have less stress if we don't judge and don't try to force others to think the same way that we think, but allow for that space for them to think whatever way they think and for us to think whatever we think, and to realize that people are just different, shades of gray. There's fluidity in thought. Neglecting self care. That's another way that we demonstrate resistance. Our natural inclination is to take care of ourselves. And if we don't, we can be building stress in our lives by not doing the things that we know we need to do for ourselves, not resting when we need to rest, not eating when we need to eat, not hydrating when we need to hydrate, not getting up and moving. So, neglecting our own self care leads to stress as well. So, all of the things I mentioned are forms of resistance. And let me tell you another thing. There's a sister, her name is I forgot her first name, but I think her last name is Hershey. Don't quote me on that because it's probably not right. But the title of the book is Rest is Resistance. And she speaks to the way the world pushes for achievement and excellence, to be the best, to get the most money, to drive the best car, to wear the cutest clothes, to have the cutest body. Drive, drive, drive. And she wrote a whole book about resisting the urge to drive yourself into the ground like that, but to rest. Resist that inclination to just keep pushing when you really need to rest. She says, rest is resistance. And that's a different flip on the way of thinking about resistance, but I just had to throw that in. So, by recognizing all of these forms of resistance, we can be more mindful about living our lives in a state of non resistance, a state of flow. Let it go. It's like that song, you know, where she says, the snow never bothered me anyway. Just let it go. So be good to yourself, be non resistance, let it flow. I hope that made sense to you. Take care, resist less, flow more.